r/no sleep. User ladyslipperlane. I visited a murder house. Now know who the killer is. When the murders hit the news, my entire town went into shock. How often does a mild-mannered family man kill his entire family? I was in middle school when it happened. The town went into a frenzy debating what we really knew about Harold Weeks. He was known as a likable wildlife photographer, now a cold-blooded killer. He pleaded not guilty and said he was miles away when it happened. The grisly details of their deaths turned our quiet community into a media circus. Apparently, the mom was found on the basement floor with her skin chewed up. The little boy was found skinned and dangling from an old laundry chute. As a little boy, these stories shaped my nightmares. I became suspicious of my own father and obsessively clingy to my mother. I wasn't the only one. Kids in my class would dare each other to go near the house. They'd get as close as they could, then count out loud to see who could stomach staying near the house the longest. I never played that game. But years later, I would do something much worse. Time passed and we all moved on. The man, Mr. Weeks, was able to get off with no jail time after making up some story about a woman living in the walls and telling him to do it. I'm not sure. My little brain could never get past the images of the little boy dangling from the laundry chute with his skin peeled off. Years later, I was in college and studying film. I needed a topic for my thesis documentary to swing my 2.9 GPA into favorable waters. That's when I had the bright idea to interview the reclusive man who everyone believed was a murderer. I couldn't believe it when he agreed to be interviewed. I was so nervous to call, and my nerves were met with a chipper and upbeat reply. He said it was finally time to set the record straight. His only request was that I come alone. I'm not stupid, but I am pragmatic. The man had to have been somewhere in his 70s after all this time, not the threat he might have been in the past. The next week, I trudged my heavy JVC camcorder the 2 miles from the nearest bus stop to his doorstep. When I arrived, I thought I had the wrong man. This guy was much younger, with a spring in his step and wide, green eyes that locked onto me the way a snake locked onto a mouse. He always had a little smile like he knew some inside joke. I didn't. He excitedly brought me into his house to set up the camera. At this point, every muscle in me was screaming to get away, but politeness pushed me through the door. Human beings would walk off a cliff if it was the polite thing to do. Since I'm writing this, you know that I made it out that day. It will forever live as the most haunting day of my life. Once I got inside, a dank soreness crept into my bones. Her house was bad with a rank odor, and I was always checking over my shoulder, certain someone was standing there watching me. But the worst part is what Mr. Weeks showed me that day. It was true. He did lure me there to set the record straight, and he let me film it all. He wants you to know. So I spent the rest of my semester making a movie about it, about her, the woman who lived inside the walls. I hope you watch it, and I hope you never visit that terrible house, because now, I feel like I need to go back. Something wants me back. I've accidentally driven to the house without realizing several times, only snapping out of it to find myself standing at the front door. I'm terrified of what will happen if she gets me back inside. I think it's only a matter of time now that I know who she is. She calls herself Breezel. And now you know, too.